Right, absolutely.
Just those little goals if you're going through that stuff.
Right, absolutely. I agree with you, buddy. And we're going to get into the anxiety and depression excuses here and why some people use them. Because maybe right now you're thinking, I do have anxiety and depression, but there's no fucking way I'm getting anything from this bullshit. Right? It's just who I am or whatever. And that's an excuse in itself. That's just who I am. When you say something like, that's just who I am, I'm built that way, you've already fucked yourself over.
You put a limit right there.
Yeah, you already just said that you're not willing to change, you're not capable of change, and you're just going to stay stuck.
Yeah.
And if you feel shitty, what are you getting out of it? So for me, I'll be honest and say what I was getting out of it, at least I think I was. For me, it was so beautifully used as my excuse not to.
Yeah.
So this is where my what if thinking tends to kick in. So like, my excuse would be, it was my excuse not to do all the things that I wanted to do. Yet as soon as I take an anti-anxiety medication, it's the same year. I mean, I've obviously taken them before as well, but the one that actually started working for me, and I started not using the excuses, got on a reality TV show right away. Right? So like it shows you, and then where are my excuses? Oh shit, like I can't really excuse myself from this.
No, yeah.
So for me, it was like, okay, it's my excuse not to try. It's my excuse not to start that business, not to start that relationship. So I use it as an excuse just to stay safe because I didn't think I was capable of the responsibility of it.
Did you not think that you were, like, was a part of it, like, that you didn't think you were worthy of that?
Sure.
You know?
I think a big part was, I think it was just easier to go to the bar with the group of people I surrounded myself with that I thought were cool at the time. Because we made fun of everyone, so apparently we must have been cool, right?
Cool, yeah.
And that was the cool thing to do. And I think that I was just so afraid of what other people would think, and I'd lose my friends. And if I tried to change and be the person that I wanted to be, maybe I wouldn't be lovable by the people that love me right now.
Right.
And that's a crock of shit, because if...
You're loved. You know that.
I do,
you're loved and you're worthy. Right?
I do. Thank you, my man. I appreciate that. And I do realize that. And the thing for me is that those relationships weren't healthy anyway. Like, you can never change someone else.
Yeah.
You can only change yourself, and we'll get into this again. You can only change yourself, and then how they adapt and react to it is on them.
Absolutely.
If the relationship is meant to be there, that then forces them to change.
Right.
To stay with you or to stay a part of your life. Mm-hmm. And so by working on this, you might, and that might make you nervous, you might lose some people, but guess what? They're probably not people that are making you feel like $1 million anyway.
Right, exactly.
Right? So...
stick around your tribe, you know, the tribe that builds you up and supports you and loves you and encourages you.
And some of the other excuses people use for holding on to anxiety and stress and depression, it can keep you stuck in relationships that aren't healthy. It can keep you stuck in a job that you don't really like. It can keep you in a lifestyle where you'll always have something to complain about. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Who are you going to be without your complaining mentality?
Some people are so focused on chaos that if they get a little glimpse of calmness, they have to create their chaos.
Yeah,
right?
And that's tough. I was like that, I think, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
I think that I couldn't sit peacefully still, and that's why...
Well, because your anxiety is going to go, right? If it gets peaceful, then your anxiety is going to come up and there's no chaos.
Yeah.
In some sort of twisted, sick way, chaos eases your anxiety.
It does, because then you have something to focus on other than the anxiety.
Other than the anxiety, right?
But when you attack the anxiety, you attack the depression, you attack the stress,
then the less drama.
You don't want the chaos.
No.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And you can handle the stresses of everyday life, like doing your taxes and paying your bills.
Right.
It becomes a little bit easier when you don't have the other bullshit going on, right?
Yeah.
That you've really created for no purpose other than to keep yourself busy and pass the time.
That's it. And what kind of life is that, really?
But the thing is, it's probably a good 90% of the population living it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
for sure.
When it comes to change, the anxiety and depression that comes from staying stuck, and we've touched on this a few times now, but it's so much worse than the anxiety of moving forward. It may be new territory to explore, but it's worth it. Change can be so exciting when you choose the right attitude and perspective. I agree with that 100%.
I agree. I wrote that exact same thing down, that the anxiety and depression comes from... that comes from just staying stuck. It's so much worse, right? It might feel debilitating to go through something that you're anxious about, right? But staying stuck for so long, it's just going to keep you stagnant.
Absolutely.
That's all it's going to do. I think even if you're crawling, I wrote that on my Facebook the other day. Like, even if you're crawling, you're still moving forward.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. And if it means going through something that you're anxious about slower, so be it.
Even if you move back, that's okay.
That's all right. Yeah.
Right. Just remember
don't stay there.
No. It's not a good space to be. You always want to be pushing yourself to do something a little bit uncomfortable. That's the only way you grow.
Right.
And I like to think of all humans as like trees. If you're not growing, you're dying. And I know that a lot of people say, I think that's Tony Robbins originally or something like that. But what are you doing if you're not growing? You're existing?
Yeah. And what a shitty life that is to just exist.
You gotta at least try. You have to at least try and try your best to
just embrace change. Embrace it a little bit, and it could be the greatest thing. Ultimately, for guys like us who thought, I'm going to drink every day the rest of my life, that change of not drinking has provided us with opportunities that we would have never had if we were still drinking.
For sure, and relationships with people that are so much deeper than the connections I had. I don't think
superficial.
So superficial. Anyone that I ever went to the bars with, I mean, some of them you could have meaningful conversations, but I don't want to smash all of them because some of them are great people. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of the people I go out with just wanted to take me out or to go out together so that they weren't drinking alone.
Right.
Everything else, they didn't care about me. They cared about who they saw at the bar.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And how superficial is that,
fucking
right?
bullshit. Yeah. Fuck off, man.
There's no like weight with that either. You know what I mean? Like how great is our friendship if we go to the bar and you just want to be seen?
Yeah, you just want to be seen, or you just want to see this girl or that guy or whatever.
And there's no depth. Like
it's just what outfit you're gonna wear. Your tits are hanging out or whatever, right?
I was lucky if I got into a bar. You know what I mean? Like, I was just lucky because I was a big fan of pre-drinking. And I thought it was a victory if I got in. If I didn't get turned away, then I won.
You know why you were a big fan of pre-drinking? This is kombucha, by the way. This isn't beer, for anyone that's wondering. But the reason why, man, is because you preferred the intimate moments of the pre-drinking because that was more depth at the bar. Who are these people, right?
I wasn't a big fan of the bar because I, a lot of the times, probably more times than not, I would get kicked out. And that was... I knew that. I was cognizant of that I probably wouldn't be there till the last call. Very rarely would I make it to last call. So I needed to get my party in before.
No, I hear you, man. I was exactly the same way, especially when I was younger. That's why a few ambulance rides later.
That's exactly.
But where were we here, man? I'm getting lost. Okay, if you really want to grow spiritually, mentally, physically, and in your relationships, you have to expect change. It's a healthy part of life and the life experience. This is the hardest part for people with anxiety and depression to see. They don't think they're getting anything out of this condition. Like a lot, and I don't think I did it when I originally looked at it. And don't beat yourself up if you can't see this yet, because you might think that you get nothing out of it, but maybe you're getting some attention from someone that you didn't get before because maybe they like taking care of you. Maybe they like that feeling.
That's very true, yeah.
And so maybe you, by staying anxious and depressed, or you get stressed out easily, maybe that enables your partner, whoever, to feel important because now they're taking care of you. They have purpose. And maybe you want to stay stuck because you feel that they won't love you if you change. If you're still, that feeling, like we've talked about, that feeling is way worse than making the change and seeing what happens. I promise you.
It's almost like it's a power that we all have. This courage stuff, right? We all do have courage. And I think that it's just a level of courageousness, right?
Where are you at?
Right? And I think that we can all get to another level too. It just maybe takes time and some work and using some tools, right? Like using the CBT, or we all can have the courage to change, and it can all be a smooth process or it can be a shady process, right? It's really up to our attitudes.
It is. It's
how that process goes.
And it all comes back to how are you thinking, right? Like, what's your perspective?
The victim mentality is never going to help change.
No.
Like having a victim mentality during change is not going to progress that very fast.
Right. And this is true. We know this. You don't do anything that you aren't getting something out of. So every single behavior, even if it's negative, brings about something that you think is worth continuing for that behavior. So as we're talking about this, you are definitely getting something out of this, even if it's on a subconscious level, and it may very well be. You might have to do some searching for that one. And if you can't figure it out, just know that you probably are getting something out of it, and it's time to change. Examples of negative behavior you might be maintaining are depression, anger, any kind of ongoing physical illness, anxiety, fear, guilt, hostility, and procrastination. You get something out of holding on to these. And for me, mine was physical illness. I would always feel sick, and it was my anxiety and depression, or just being really overly stressed.
Right.
And when I was always feeling sick, I realized it was almost like I was making myself sick.
A form of avoidance.
Yeah, exactly. Because I didn't want to avoid real life. I didn't want to avoid, being a real estate broker. I wasn't a huge fan of my job. It's okay. Right. I don't mind it, but I didn't feel like I was making an impact. I didn't feel like I was as successful as I could have been.
Right.
And it was the one job where you could be sick a lot. You're in business for yourself. Mm-hmm. And it also enabled me to just kind of let life pass me by. I could watch movies and it was an escape. And I was thinking about this today, actually. I thought, we think about drugs and using drugs as an escape or alcohol as an escape, but anxiety can be an escape too. And depression, because you can just use that to escape your everyday tasks. Yeah,
for sure.
And you're not thinking, and eventually you sleep long enough, you're not thinking clearly, you watch enough movies, you're starting to think like you're a fucking movie star. Yeah. I mean, and I was there too. One time I went through the full season all the seasons of Sopranos. I thought it was Tony Soprano, Made moves a dick to people for a bit. But
I'm glad you're not that.
Yeah, I know. A common trait people with anxiety and depression tend to possess is trying to justify their present behavior. They have 1,000 reasons or excuses as to why they are so miserable right now and why they should stay this way, even though they don't even realize they're doing it.
Yeah. I had that written down too, just about justification to why you shouldn't change.
Right.
I have to stay this way or this will happen. Or I got to justify this way so I'm not assertive.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think being assertive is a good thing.
And, absolutely.
And we built this kind of thing in anxiety, and maybe anxiety is built this way that we find justification in not being assertive.
Right.
Which is, I can't do that, I'm too scared.
Right.
And I think fear is the biggest motivator.
Right.
Or it should be, right? I hate being scared.
Sure.
I hate it.
Fear is what stops most people from any change.
Yeah,
really.
For sure. Because it's fear of the unknown, right?
Or fear of rejection.
Or fear of rejection.
Fear of success, even.
I had a huge fear of success for a long time.
Right.
And I think, would I rather be scared of success or scared of failure?
Right.
I think at failure, I'm still going to learn. At success, I'm going to be successful.
As long as that fear of failure doesn't stop you from trying.
Because I define success as happiness. Why am I scared to be happy? I deserve to be happy. I'm worthy of happiness, right? And it's not about what's in my bank account. It's not about what I drive. It's
not
about my happiness and who I am at my core, right? And
Yep.
For me to justify that, not to be like that, I'm selling myself short.
Right.
I'm not giving myself a lot of self-love if that's it.
And that brings me to the next point, and I wanted to ask you about this because Lucinda said in the audio that people sort of might, with excuses, what they are excuses, might say that they had a difficult past, they might say they had a rough childhood, their parents were both struggling with mental health issues, addiction perhaps, and alcohol to cope. I was abused, and this is what she said, so I wanted your input on that. It's important to understand what your resistance behaviors are and what they're doing to avoid letting go of your anxiety and depression. What did you think when she said something like that? Did that hit home at all?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think I'm so used to being in a victim mentality for so long that I didn't know how to be in a thriving kind of mentality or surviving mentality. So I was so used to being in that victim mentality, and I was so angry at myself. Ultimately, that's why I was still a victim of myself, and that's what it was. It wasn't that the stuff that that happened to me younger was still happening to me. It was that I was making that stuff and those feelings still stay inside me and not letting them go. It was almost like a...
Were you reliving it in a way?
Oh, I'd still relive it.
Really?
I still relive it when I have nightmares now. It's just a lot less than living throughout the day. It was debilitating so that I couldn't go to work.
Right.
I couldn't go to work because I thought, well, my boss at one time raped me at a job interview. I can't go for another job interview ever.
Right.
So that stopped me from going and getting a legitimate job and making legitimate money, So I was like, what do I do? Well, this happened to me, so I'm just going to be a victim. I'm just going to continue to be a victim.
So to anyone else out there that's using that as an excuse to stay anxious and depressed, What's your advice to them?
Talk about it. I think that, like, I'm successful now because I got that stuff out of me.
Right.
Like, and I didn't keep that in. I didn't listen to society saying, or, you know, my family before saying, you know, shove that stuff down, don't ever let it out.